Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and it's time for your weekly wrap-up, and we've got a lot of Patreon supporters to thank this week. Foreverman, John Kaiser, Jeff Durango, Reed Love, Joe Doherty. We also got in Andrew Calvin, Devin Franklin, Raymond Virgil de Dios, who I met at VidCon a couple of years ago, did an upgrade on his support, as did Will Rowland, who also upgraded his support. We also had a bunch of tip jar contributors, David Bowen, Carmen Nooner, and some folks on Super Chat also, Martin Paloni, Frog Splash, and Jeff Elder. And Super Chat is something I do when I'm doing my live streams. You can now contribute in the course of a stream to the channel. So all of the support that I got this week was greatly appreciated. This is my now second full week here on the job. I'm doing this full time now, and everyone's support means a lot because it means I can eat, but it also means that I might have something here that could be sustainable over time, which is my really my experiment here to see if I can make this channel really work as a full-time occupation. And it's so far so good. I've had a really good first week. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But we also have a sponsor of the wrap-up, which we've never had before. Gearbest is doing a sponsorship of this particular video because they want to talk about their 3rd anniversary. And as they say, the 3rd time's a charm. You can go to Lon.TV/Gearbest and get some good deals and all that crazy Chinese stuff that we review here from time to time, including a lot of stuff from Xiaomi, which is on sale. The prices are pretty good right now. They have some coupons up there. There's a bunch of giveaways and a whole bunch of other things to check out. So if you are looking for some of those gadgets that we review here on the channel that you can't always get from suppliers in your home country, Gearbest might have it. So definitely check it out at Lon.TV/Gearbest for their 3rd anniversary celebration. So I want to thank Gearbest for their sponsorship this week. So what did we do last week? Well, we had a bunch of stuff going on. You can check out a bunch of unboxings and some supplementary footage that I added up to the extras channel this week, including some footage of that analog NT Mini playing Atari 2600 games. They just activated the 7800 firmware now for that device, so I'll be running some games on that. I've never actually played an Atari 7800 before, so if you have and have some good recommendations for games, let me know down in the comments below. I'm going to try to do a live stream around setting up that particular part of the NT Mini. Those are just fun for me, so I just like to share those experiences with you. We took a look at unboxing that Cube Mix KB Lake device that we looked at yesterday, as well as the Beelink box. And it's been really helpful on the extras channel with the unboxings, which I didn't really realize when I started doing these, is that it's a good focus group for things that you find interesting. Because if I get a good response to an unboxing, that kind of jumps it up in the schedule for me on the main channel so that I know that there's a real interest in seeing that product reviewed. So I'm going to be doing more unboxings so that I can get a feel for what you're interested in, because it really helps me to put content up that people want to watch, and your feedback there really helped this week. So I want to thank you all for that. So on the main channel, we looked at the Beelink SEA or 1. It's a Android TV box. I'll talk more about that, the semantics around what to call these things in a second, but not too bad of a device, not great, but it was decent enough. Some folks did ask about the HDMI input on it and whether or not it could work as a camera, and unfortunately it cannot. I did try it out. I plugged in a whole bunch of stuff and loaded up Twitch and a few other apps that can stream out, including Skype. None of them saw the HDMI input as a camera, so it looks like the HDMI input on that device is restricted to its native app for that feature. You can check it out in the full review. It actually does a pretty passable job of video capture, which I thought was interesting in a cheap Android box. We also looked at that Cube Mix Plus, which is a really powerful Core M3 tablet. I was really surprised by how well it performed versus how it felt physically. It felt like every other cheap tablet from China I've tried over the years, but it really surprised me in its performance. You can check out that full review linked down below in the master playlist. We also had a sponsored video this week from Plex, and with sponsored videos, I do try to add some value to the mix so that you can actually learn something from it. So in this case, we looked at setting up a Plex server in the cloud where you can store your video on a cloud service provider and then have Plex's servers, if you are a Plex Pass subscriber, serve that content to you and those that you have assigned to your account. So it does transcoding and everything else off-site, which might be of use to some folks, although you do have to get all of your content loaded up to the cloud service provider for it to work. Definitely check it out, though, if you want to learn more. And we did a bunch on the Nintendo Switch this week, including an unboxing live stream, which is linked down below. We also did a full review of the Nintendo Switch that I got a lot of great feedback on, so I want to thank everyone for your comments on that. So I was really, to be honest with you, I'm still playing with it. I've been playing the Zelda game quite a bit. I've been playing it docked as well as undocked around the house, and it's been really fun, actually. It's not a perfect game, but it's a fun game. And a few of you wrote in about the USB Type-C port on the bottom of the Switch and whether or not that might be compatible with non-Nintendo devices for hooking up to TVs, for example, and unfortunately it does not. You can charge it through a non-Nintendo device, but the docks that I have and the adapters that I have to connect computers up via the USB Type-C port to displays do not work here. So you'll have to spend $90 on that overpriced Nintendo adapter. Raphael M. writes in with the question of the day on the Switch, which is whether or not it's worth the price tag. And I'd say right now, just because there's not a lot of games out for it, probably not, unless you really want to play Zelda on a handheld device. But I think down the road it could be, provided that developers support it. And I think Nintendo would be wise to go out and attract a lot of the creative indie developers that are doing some really cool stuff that maybe is only available right now on a PS4 or on the PC through Steam or something, that if you can get a game that can run as well as those platforms on the Switch and then have a handheld version of it by default, I think that could be a very compelling thing. We're seeing Shovel Knight is already available on the Switch, and I'm hoping other games show up like that also. I've been having a blast, pardon the pun, with Blaster Master Zero, which is a game that I used to play as a kid on the original NES. This new version is really well done and a lot of fun, and again, I really like that flexibility of having a handheld that can play it as well as the console port is played, and I think that is going to probably be its biggest thing. So you may not see these huge AAA graphical adventures doing so well on the Switch. Maybe, maybe Nintendo's first-party products will do that, but I think these creative games that really make use of what makes the Switch unique will be probably its killer function. I'm hoping that's what happens, because they really have to get a lot of these sold to attract the developers. There is a chicken and the egg kind of problem here, but I'm hoping that is what Nintendo does and what their focus will be on this thing, because I think creativity will win out over the AAA titles you can get on other platforms that will play those games better than the Switch can. And I did a fun follow-up on the Switch related to their Joy-Cons. There is a adapter from 8BitDo that allows you to play your Nintendo games with a wireless controller on the original NES, and they have the ability now to connect those wireless adapters up with the Joy-Cons, so you can control Nintendo's oldest system with their newest system. Kind of a neat, fun thing, and a lot of you enjoyed that, so you can check out that video down below in the video description. And now it's time for a couple of things that are on my mind, and I wanted to share with you what my first week was like on the job here, essentially, because last week was my first full week. This is the beginning of my second full week, and the big thing that has been really sticking out in my head is that I'm feeling more relaxed. I've never gotten stressed out with this job or my other job, but the fact is I was running essentially 2 full-time jobs, and that became apparent to me over the last week when I looked back and I said, well, I got a little more done on the channel than I usually would do, but not much more. And I think it really is indicative of the fact that I was spending most of the night into the early morning hours working on the channel and going to my full-time job and its responsibilities. So it was really nice to see just getting one job taken out of the equation to give me back some of the work-life balance that I was slowly losing over time. I didn't realize how much of that balance I lost until last week when I had some time here really to just take it easy after the end of the workday. I had my video done and I went upstairs and cooked dinner with my wife and spent time with the kids, and it was great. And it was nice not to feel like I had to go back and do something after the kids went to bed. So that was a really nice thing. I did work on the weekend, but I work on the weekends anyhow. That's my thing. And when you love what you do, working on the weekends isn't a big deal. But what I am doing right now is just mentally keeping track of things that I don't like doing on the channel. I don't like all the setup work for these PC reviews, insofar as installing all the software that I install every time on them, and all the repetitive tasks that I think might be better suited for a helper to come in and do for me. So I'm going to be making a list of those things over the next couple of weeks and figuring out the things that really drive me and make me really passionate about what I do here on the channel, and then looking at the tasks that I can start to delegate out, whether it's somebody here in the studio or somebody I can delegate it to somewhere else, and begin making my time more efficient, because I really want to produce more content. I want to spend more time in front of the camera, not less. So I'm really trying to find ways to do that, because I really was surprised at the end of the week that I produced a little more than I usually do, but not much more. And I think, again, it comes back to how much time it takes to get everything prepped and ready for you to see. And I know the things that you all are looking for. I'm not doing all those things just yet. I want to do those things like Linux installations and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is going to be a really fun month here as I get my bearings, figuring out what it's like to run this thing as a full-time business, and then begin finding ways to bring on help to help me be more more productive and therefore hopefully attracting more viewers. One thing I will be doing is upgrading the lighting here in the studio. I'm going to have somebody come in and take a look at things and give me some professional advice, because I've never done any, I never took the lighting class in college. I took a few of the other TV production classes, but not the lighting class. So the light stinks in here. It always has. So we're going to start focusing on that. I got some new cameras, not because I really needed them for quality, but my workflow has been at 1080i, and it's creating problems when I output to YouTube lately, and it's really starting to frustrate me. So I got some new cameras that shoot at 1080p 30 out their HDMI cord, but are also 4K compatible. So if that ever happens down the road, I can do that. So a lot of little things here and there you might notice, you might not, but I'm looking forward to making those subtle changes now that I have time to focus on them. And now it's time for some Q&A, and I had two viewers write in with concerns as to how I referred to that Beelink Android box. Both Francois and Lord here said I should not call it an Android TV box. I should call it something else because it's not running the true TV interface of Android, which we see, of course, on the Nvidia Shield and on the Mi box and on the Sony televisions that are out there. And they're absolutely right about that. And I know where this is coming from, because there are a ton of generic crappy boxes out there that do not perform very well, that are running Android but are really not designed for televisions. In the case of the Beelink here and every other generic box that has been offered to the channel over the years, they are all running what is essentially the tablet interface on a larger screen with a launcher or something to make you think like you're using a TV box. And for a lot of folks, these aren't going to work all that great, but for some people they might, which is always why I try to cover things in depth so you can try to figure out if this thing is going to work for you or not. But I know where this is coming from, because over the years, as these Android boxes have gotten cheaper and easier to make, there's been companies selling boxes with versions of Kodi that have piracy tools bolted onto them. This is not something Kodi endorses. In fact, they're going after people who do this legally, which I think is a very good thing for Kodi to do, because Kodi is an awesome media player, and it's not fair to them to be lumped into these pirate box makers. And what's been happening is these pirate box makers are selling these boxes, sometimes actually getting people to pay them a monthly fee. Then they get caught or disappear or whatever, and the money's gone, and people think it's Kodi that sold them all of this stuff, which is definitely not the case. So I can understand why there's a lot of sensitivity out there. But you have to understand where I'm coming from when I title a video and talk about things, because if you look at a Google Trends search here, you can see that most consumers search for Android TV box compared to a TV box running Android or Android box for TV. So I think those of us in the know there's a difference between an Android TV and a box that runs Android, but most consumers are not. And my concern as a producer that tries to do things on the up and up is I want people to know the differences. So one of the things that was suggested by one of those commenters was to maybe make a video where I show the differences between what is a true Android TV device and one that is not, so that consumers can have a better idea of that, which I think I'm going to do. But I also want you all to know that because my channel is so dependent on search traffic as well as YouTube's algorithm, I have to make sure I've got the right keywords here. And Android TV box is certainly a popular term among consumers, which is why I use it. So I hope they come to me and get the information they need to make an informed decision, which is what this channel is all about. And speaking of Android TV boxes, Mike Rolfe tweeted in with a note about the Nvidia Shield TV getting a full port of the reimagined Tomb Raider that came out on other consoles a year or two ago, and it runs great, actually. You can see it running here as I'm talking. In full disclosure, Nvidia sent us a code for the game free of charge so I could share it with all of you. It runs really nicely. It feels very much like a AAA console kind of experience. Even the rumble works on the new Nvidia Shield controller. I ran it on the brand new Shield, but it will run on the old ones too, because they all are running with the same hardware. I don't think, though, you'll get the rumble on the old controllers. It does render in only at 720p, though, so it can't pull it off at 1080p, but it is still a good console-like experience nonetheless on a box that does a lot of other things, including not having restrictions as to what you can install on it. So just another feather in their cap. I'm very eager to see what other games they port over. I know they've done a few other console ports before, but I think this one is probably the most ambitious that they have done, and it really is executing quite well on there. It only runs on the Nvidia Shield, though. It doesn't run on their tablet or any other Android box for that matter. And it also takes up a lot of space, too, about 5 or 6 gigabytes on your storage. So you might want to consider getting an external hard drive if you don't have the Pro device. And I got this note from Mobile Decay about dealing with some of these Chinese tablets and how sometimes you have to read or know Chinese to get Windows reinstalled on it. And I wanted to show you one way that I sometimes work with these things here. So I've got my phone here running the Google Translate app. And what they've got is this really crazy feature. Check this out, where you can point it at a document and then push a button and have it change the text. And you can do this on screen also. You can point it at your screen. It changes the text in real time from Chinese here to English, so I can have an idea as to what they're talking about. The translation is never perfect, but it's usually good enough for me to understand what they're getting at, so I can continue working with it. In fact, I used this document to try to get that tablet reconfigured the way I wanted it to when I brought it in there. So really helpful, just again, get some context. Not a perfect translation, but a context, and so much more convenient than having to take pictures and upload things. You can just hit a little button here and in real time translate it over. It even does a fairly passable job of keeping the font intact. So it tries to match the font up in addition to reading the document. So here we had a document completely in Chinese that I was able to interpret using my mobile phone. Really cool stuff. And now it's time for a Q&A for you. And I'm curious what games that you play on your Android television devices. It could be a Nvidia Shield TV or some generic box or whatever. I'm just curious. I'm looking for things that work well with a game controller that also play well on the big screen. So let me know what you play down below in the video description. I actually do a lot of Pac-Man 256 on mine. I really like that game. A lot of fun to play on the Nvidia Shield with the controller. I just would love to get some more recommendations to kill some time every now and then. Our channel of the week this week is a channel I talked about before, but not on this segment, which is Gamesky, and he reviews headphones and headsets, and he does a really good job of that. These are really hard to review because you have to describe how something sounds, and he does a tremendous job in being able to convey the sound that these things make when they are on your head. He covers a lot of different brands, really good stuff. So if you're in the market for a new pair of headphones, the chances are he's probably covered it. He's about 8,400 subscribers right now. Another underappreciated channel that we got to get more people over to. So definitely check him out, subscribe, and check out headphone reviews from him when he's got them up on his channel. Great stuff to see there. So this week we've got the Endless PC, or actually the Mission PC, running Endless OS, which is a Linux-based operating system. And this computer system and its operating system was designed for the developing world, where they preload a whole bunch of stuff on it so you don't have to go out onto the internet as often with it. So they have an encyclopedia, a bunch of other software, all preloaded if you're in an area where you don't have a constant internet connection. But they're now releasing this in the United States and North America also as a low-cost PC option, especially for people that might be in the market for maybe a Chromebox but want a little more functionality, like the ability to install more apps that are more desktop-oriented. So that's kind of what they're shooting for here, and it's got real wood on it too, which is really cool. So we'll be unboxing this a little later on the Extras channel, probably tomorrow, and I hope to have a review up sometime this week, and I'll have some other things coming up as well. Now, if you want to help the channel, you can go to Lon.TV/Patreon and make a monthly contribution to the channel. We also have my tip jar for a one-time contribution at Lon.TV/tipjar. So I want to thank everyone who's been contributing. We also have a thing set up with Plex where if you sign up for a free Plex account, we get a small commission on that, even if it's not a Plex pass. Just signing up to use Plex's services outside of your home is enough to get us a little nudge from Plex. So I really appreciate everyone who's been doing that. And you can engage with the channel, of course, on my Extras channel at Lon.TV/Extras. The email list goes out once a week now, hopefully, at Lon.TV/email. My goal is every Tuesday morning. We'll see if I can keep that up, but that's so far been okay for 1 week. So hopefully that will continue. The Facebook page is at Lon.TV/Facebook, and you can go to my store at Lon.TV/store to buy things that I've reviewed on the channel and I'm now reselling. What I've been doing on there occasionally is giving away for the cost of shipping a lot of the stuff that I get in for free here, just because there are some things that just, I can't give everything away because I couldn't afford to keep doing all that much shipping costs. It costs about 10 or 15 bucks to ship a mid-size item out. So I do these penny sales where you just got to be there at the right time to grab it, and I will be doing that from time to time as well. I'm going to try to come up with a way to get notifications out to you when new things get posted to the store. Square doesn't allow that, so I have to find some other way to do it, but I will let you know when that happens and give you a link for those notifications. And if you want to watch my old live streams, you can do that at Lon.TV/livestreams. I do hope to pop up this week with one, playing with that analog NT Mini, but I got to get my other work done first. So I try to get all the things I need to get done caught up with, and then I can play, and that's when I will try to get on with the live stream. What I will do is try to schedule schedule it a few hours in advance, perhaps, until I come up with a regular schedule. So if you are on the notification squad, where you click on that bell on my channel to be notified as to when things happen with the channel, you'll get notified when I schedule one, and then when I go up on live air with that. And that's going to do it for this week's weekly wrap-up. Thank you all for your support. It's been a great first week on the job. I'm still getting my bearings here with all this extra, well, sort of extra time that I have to work on stuff, and I am really looking forward to what the next several weeks will bring, and I'll be sharing those experiences with you here on the Wrap-Up moving forward. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.